In 2021, I competed in my first bodybuilding show, and yeah, it was some experience. Funnily enough, prior to that, I had actually never gone through a fat loss phase. So my first experience with fat loss was a bodybuilding competition prep. But since then, I have won multiple shows and competed in British finals, and I'm currently on my third competitive season coaching myself. And obviously along the way, I've learned a lot since then, since 2021, through not only coaching myself, but also coaching my clients to also step on stage. So today I thought I would share 6 things that I wish I had learned sooner before I put on that shiny blue thong in 2021. So let's get this started with number 1, which is you need to spend time perfecting your posing, and more specifically the mandatory poses, the 8 mandatory poses that you'll have to do in bodybuilding. What is the use in spending all of that time dieting, all of that time training, and then not actually being able to present the best physique possible? Having the muscle is great, but if you can't pose really well, it doesn't really matter. I think a great example of this is actually somebody called Paul Dillette, who probably has one of the most monstrous and insane physiques of all time. But the guy just couldn't pose. And it's something that held him back for years. It meant that he couldn't get better placings at shows. I think a lot of first timers these days spend so much time focusing on their posing routine, the 60 seconds that they get to do their freestyle routine, which is great, but the majority of their focus needs to go into those mandatory poses. If this is your first competition prep that you're doing, I'd highly recommend doing 2 rounds of posing in the morning every time you wake up, holding each pose for between 5 and 7 seconds. Now, that's not easy, but it is going to improve your posing conditioning. There's still so many people that sleep on just being very good at the mandatory poses. Can you hold a front double bicep for 10 seconds without twitching, without fiddling, without letting your gut come out? Make sure you work on nailing the mandatory poses. Number 2 is put more money aside than what you think you need. Being a competitive bodybuilder is not cheap, and when you factor in your show entry, your travel, accommodation, tan, posing trunks, all of these things add up to be quite expensive. So make sure you're putting finances aside and you're considering those things before you go into a contest prep. I do actually have a video on the cost of competing, so I'll leave that in the description below. For the most part though, for something like a show entry, you're looking at least £100, including the membership and then entry into your specific class. Number 3, and I wish that somebody told me this for my first competition prep, my God, do not watch anything to do with food. I would spend so many hours watching cooking shows that if I wasn't in a competition prep, I just wouldn't watch. You probably know him if you're on YouTube, but I used to watch a guy called Dame Drops. He had a show on YouTube on his channel, and he also managed to get a deal with Netflix. So he had a show on there as well, where he would just travel around America and just try different food. And the amount of hours that I spent watching this guy on the treadmill is a joke. It was him, and it was also Eric the Electric, and also Beard Meats Food as well. Those 3 were like my go-to, and a very bad idea. As entertaining as they are and as good as those channels are, it only just adds fuel to the fire that is your food focus. When you go through a contest prep, the hunger levels are so much greater than what you imagine. If you haven't taken yourself through a diet of that magnitude where you've brought your body fat levels down super low, your food focus is going to get really high, really high. And watching cooking videos when you're in that state is just not a good idea. And the reason it's not a very good idea is because once you've finished your competitive season, once you no longer have the prospect of stepping on stage in underwear, basically, the floodgates are going to open. And all of that food that you've been stocking in your mind, all of those restaurants you've been writing down, all of those treats that you've ordered, you're going to try and consume all of that within a week. You're going to get too fat too quickly, and you're basically going to Larry Wheels it. Doing that is very dangerous. It's going to increase your blood pressure, you're going to get edema in your ankles, and you've also managed to basically start your off season at peak off-season shape. So you're probably going to have to diet again very soon. Control what you're watching. Do not sit there watching cooking videos or eating challenges or that sort of thing. It is only going to make your hunger and your food focus more torturous. Number 4 is there will be symptoms that you didn't expect from a contest prep. For example, low libido, feeling less present, feeling like you've almost lost a bit of your sense of humor, and your legs can end up feeling very heavy. Before I entered my first show in 2021, and obviously I'd never done a diet before, I just thought the only thing that I really have to deal with is feeling really hungry. That's all I thought that came with a contest prep. I didn't realize that it came with these other things. I didn't realize that your libido would end up dropping. I didn't realize that your energy levels would plummet and that you would just have this immense feeling of just exhaustion, especially towards the back end of the contest prep. I didn't realize that that was actually kind of part of the process. And I think the best way to navigate this is to put yourself through a diet before you go through a contest prep, especially with a coach. Number one, you can see how you respond to a diet, how you feel going through a diet, what is your food focus like, what's your libido like, how can you combat these things, how can you work around them, and it also allows you to expect it when you go into a contest prep. I done pretty well in navigating these things. I think obviously hindsight is 2020, and there's definitely things that I could have handled better in 2021 with my first prep, but I didn't completely destroy my relationship with food. I didn't completely destroy every single relationship around me. I was just a bit of a different person, right? But I just wasn't aware of those things that would occur from a contest prep. So going through a diet prior to a contest prep, I'm talking maybe a year or two before or 6 months before you go into a contest prep. Typically we'll call that a pre-prep diet, for example. Or even if you just spend a period of time before you actually compete, going through gaining or massing phases and then dieting down and doing that for years beforehand is wise before a contest prep because it prepares you for what a contest prep actually feels like. Number 5 is make sure you keep your long-term goals in mind. You don't just want to have the goal of stepping on stage and competing. You want something after that as well. The competition part of your bodybuilding life is only a small part of it. What is the long-term overall goal? Do you want to get a pro card? Do you want to improve certain body parts? What is it? What's the next thing that's going to be after that competition? Because post-show blues is a thing. People falling off of bodybuilding entirely and struggling with their mental health is a thing post-show. Having a poor relationship with food, feeling very lost is a massive thing in bodybuilding. You need to have that long-term focus. It's not just my life is centered around this show and when this ends, I don't know what I'm going to do, because you're going to end up feeling very lost after that. I knew that after I competed, I was still going to train. There were things that I still wanted to work on. I had strength goals that I wanted to achieve. I also just loved training. I loved the gym. I think after that, I was just so excited to get back to eating enough food to be able to train really well. And I think if you love the training, if you actually fall in love with the process of bodybuilding, which look, I can't force you to obviously do that. You either love it or you don't, right? I'm not gonna just tell you, hey, just remember to enjoy it. But prior to going into a contest prep, ask yourself, do I actually love training? Do I actually love the process of bodybuilding? If you don't, going through a contest prep might not be the best thing for you, because that period afterwards is going to be tough if you don't have those long-term endeavors within bodybuilding. And finally, number 6, what is one more thing that I wish I had known before I competed for the first time? You need to understand that to get into stage condition, that's not lean for the beach or lean for a holiday, that's stage condition. You are 100% going to need to feel small and get flat. You are also probably going to see the scale get lower than you've seen it go in a very, very long time. But here's the catch. The judges at a bodybuilding show do not care how much you weigh. They care about how you look, how balanced your physique is, how much condition you're in, and of course your level of muscularity. If you shy away from feeling flat and trying to stay above a certain number on the scale, you will not get in shape and you will not even get looked at a bodybuilding competition. Funnily enough, in my first show, I came second. I think I got the trophy. Hold on, it's down there somewhere. But I got the trophy. I got second place in my first competition, right? And I lost to a guy, in my opinion, who I should not be losing to. But the reason that he beat me is because he was in better shape than me. I was heavier than him, probably had about 20 kilos of body weight on him. Yes, I was a little bit taller, but 20 kilos, clearly had more muscle mass. Because I just didn't come down enough in body weight, potentially just due to not having enough time or starting my competition prep from being too heavy, whatever the case may be, I'd lost. And I'd lost to somebody who was lighter than me and who would come in more condition than me. The judges do not care if you are heavier on the day. If you are not in the condition that you need to be, you're not going to win the show. You are probably not going to win this show unless you are an absolute freak and nobody else shows up. So, appreciate you watching the video. If you address all 6 of these points, honestly, it will put you in a great spot for your first competition prep. The only thing left for you to do really is to hire a great coach.